Hey, everybody. It is Happy Tuesday. And we're back. What a week, man. Every time a day goes by, it's just insane the amount of news, the amount of noise, the amount of activity. But once again, we're back. I'm Stefan Rust. For those of you that don't know, Rust, the same as the programming language. I'm the founder and CEO of Truflation. True Labs, which is the builder behind the Truflation Stream Network and Truflation.com, the website. And I'll get into, as this show goes on, basically what we do is we cover a bit of the macro, what's going on in the world. We go into sort of some of the Truflation features, TSN, and then we go into your questions and anything you have in sort of an AMA style interaction. We're trying to make that a bit more interactive and really have some real-time feedback. But we won't do that today. But I'll be capturing as many conversations as I can and questions that you might have. That's what we do. I want to go into you really around the background around Truflation and how we came about and where we want to go and why we're doing what we're doing, just so you get to see, get a feel of our vision, why we're doing this, and why it's so important to have a decentralized source of truth. And that's why we built the Truth Token, to be able to power, secure this decentralized network. But that said, there's been a lot going on in the macro space. We've all experienced it. It's just wild, isn't it? I mean, I just don't understand how we are digesting all of this movement and the threat that the incumbents are feeling, that they really feel the need to shut down censorship. We had the Mark Zuckerberg letters come out, exposing the Biden-Harris administration and the pressure that they were under, not only by the administration, but then also by the FBI to disclose, squash any kind of comment around COVID. They regret that today, and they're going to try and fix that tomorrow. Why? Because freedom of speech has become such an important topic, equal to inflation, freedom of speech. All of this is there. And it's not just because of the actual fact itself, but it's actually more as a result out of the growing distrust in the establishments that are ruling nations and not representing the actual population of those nations and the interests that are underlying those nations. And I think that's really what is growing more and more. And you're seeing, thanks to the stand-up of X.com, Facebook now really feeling the pressure to come out and differentiate itself. You're seeing messenger apps like Telegram come out and really feel the pressure, right? And, there was I don't know if you've seen this, but there was a really good video that came out on the topic. I thought was really cool. So maybe we can watch it here. Which tab is this? Here. Let me just put this on pause a bit and scale this up a little bit here. And let's go and see if we can share this. Here we go, share. And you can see here, can you see the screen? Yeah, you can see the screen. It's in the comments if you can hear it. If it's all
Как
good,
видите, мы за вами
then you
давненько
can read it.
наблюдаем, мистер Дурош. Оказывается, вы живете двойной жизнью, мистер Дуров. В одной жизни вы россиянин, основатель крупной социальной сети, миллиардер, любящий постить фотографии своего голого торса. В другой – гражданин Франции и создатель известного мессенджера. Вы виновны практически во всех уголовно наказуемых компьютерных преступлениях. Буду предельно откровенен с вами, мистер Дуров. Вы здесь, потому что нам нужна ваша помощь. Нам стало известно, что с вами вошел в контакт один субъект. Что вы вообразили себе о нем? Несущественно. Власти многих стран считают
Whose
его
face does that
опаснейшим
remind you of? I
преступником.
don't know, but
Мы готовы
that
уничтожить
Macron's
досье,
face? Whose face is
дать
that
вам
supposed to be?
шанс. От вас нужно только одно, мистер Дуров.
Yeah, Russian
Передайте
really
нам
sounds
ключи
evil,
от
doesn't
телеграммы.
it? It just sounds
Да,
brutal.
заманчивое предложение. Но у меня есть идея лучше. Скажем, я пошлю вас подальше.
Ну что ж, мистер Дуров, тогда добро пожаловать в демократию с равенством и свободой слова.
Anyway, you guys get the message. I just thought that was very tune to come out, because I don't know if any of you know, but Pavel Durov was the founder of a LinkedIn equivalent in Russia, so a social networking platform, VKontakte, and apparently that was also under a lot of pressure by the Russian government this time to disclose a lot of information and help with censorship. And I think that's partially when he launched Telegram, he also ran into challenges over there. And that's why he started trying to build out decentralized networks so that the node and the web servers would always stay up and running and wouldn't be shut down, and allow people to have a voice and share their insights in terms of what was going on and the actual conversations that were taking place, and allowing people to have and talk about that. So anyway, I thought that was a bit fun, a bit different, but actually on a more serious note, you can see here, it's definitely not a comforting situation to be in under that kind of pressure. But here you can see is the actual press release by the Tribunal Judiciaire de Paris, where the prosecutor of the Republic talks about why he is being prosecuted and what it is. But I don't know, I've just seen comments coming out that apparently he's going to be released tomorrow, Wednesday, so he's already out. You've already seen messages from the Emirates, for which he's an Emirati citizen, so he's multi-citizen. I think he has a St. Kitts passport, he has a French passport, and he has an Emirates passport. And so the Emiratis have asked that their consulate and their ambassador can go and provide the appropriate support to him as a citizen in the French tribunal area. The amount of pressure on the French economy, a lot of the entrepreneurs, a lot of the tech leadership, even Maduro was going out there and claiming that they should release Durov and open up and let entrepreneurs thrive and let Telegram be. And so let's see what happens, if that's really going to be the case. Even Macron sent out a tweet out there. I don't know if you saw that, but there was one where he's justifying, oh, it's not my fault. It's only part of the other department over there. It's somebody else's responsibility. He was going out, oh, I'm reading a lot of false news. And, where was that? That was just out today. I think they already deleted it or what? Hey, I don't know if you've seen this. I've seen a lot of false information regarding France following the arrest of Pavel Durov. France is deeply committed for freedom of expression and communication, to innovation and the spirit of entrepreneurship. It will remain so. But hang on. There's this other judiciary in full independence to enforce the law. So anyway, it's just a different department. And that's the same like saying, separating state and money. The state and money are obviously super aligned, right? It's saying that the BLS for inflation reporting is totally independent from the existing administration. There's no way. They're all in cahoots. And these big centralized entities, the more they get established, the more they get stronger and powerful, it just starts to corrupt. And they start adjusting the truth. They start feeling threatened. They start clamping down on voice. And remember, you may have your favored entity or your favored individual or your favored administration ruling today. But what happens if tomorrow somebody else comes and leverages these precedents to justify their movements, their own wills, and their desires that are in total conflict of where we are today, of where, and radically change these systems? And so that's why these decentralized systems, these network states, right, these contributing parties have to be able to enforce and live within a framework, right? And how do we do that? That's up to better powers, more influential people to run. All we're trying to do is just report on pricing. But anyway, I thought that was a big news. Everybody's talking about it. And I think it's really important to talk about freedom of speech and to be able to have access. And somebody wrote a tweet on Truflation that, we need to be careful, right? Because we're reporting economic numbers across governments. And if these numbers are not very popular, we might run the risk of running into certain troubles and conflicts. So we'll see how that works and how that comes out. But I think, sort of on a macro perspective, right? So what's going on? We all saw the messages. Jerome Powell on the weekend, on Friday, I think, shared some insights in terms of releasing and reducing interest rates. So he had committed to that already. And I think it's not the first time. But, it hasn't been tried before in a bullish market in terms of stock market is pumping already, right? You see assets appreciating at significant volume. Liquidity is already in circulation there. And now we're dropping interest rates. So we're easing in terms of making more money accessible. And there will be a magnitude of some $400 billion that will be unlocked with a 25 basis points drop in interest rates. At 50, it'll double. It'll hit about $700 to $800 billion that will get unlocked with a 50 basis points drop. And you can see on the betting markets today, people are betting on what that looks like and where we're at with that. So here you can go to here, launch app. Here we go. You can see here, sorry, I'm just taking some time. I need to connect my app, damn it. It's not working. So I'm just gonna drop this because I need to be on my other browser, and I will do that whilst I talk. Anyway, you can see here, I think the first thing is, right, it's never been tried before when the book markets are up, right? Usually it's always been when the markets are down. COVID hit the markets, we dropped interest rates. We dropped interest rates around the 2008, which was the global financial crisis. And then there were small crises here in the middle, but this is when we hit the ZIRP timeframe, zero interest rates marketplace. And so let's see how that's going and where that's going to go and where this is going to lead us. But it'll be an interesting drive out of that. What does that mean and what will that look like, right? So I think, an interesting thing is we're seeing what will Fed cuts do to small caps. I think that's where there will be a lot of opportunities where small caps will be able to access funding that they haven't been able to access before. The financials, obviously, all the financial services industry will be able to turn around their companies. They'll be able to offer loans again. They'll be able to make margins on the loans, and they will be able to take away the unrealized losses that they've been covering. So they should be performing well. And then obviously the industrials. Why are the industrials important? The industrials are really important because they require heavy investments and a lot of capital to build out long-term investments around big machinery. Semiconductor industry works in 7-year cycles. Think of you doing a steel manufacturing plant and you're burning steel, the amount of energy you need, all the data centers that need to be rolled out. What are they going to need and how much are they going to be using in terms of energy requirements, infrastructure that needs to be laid out, etc. The infrastructure rollout associated with energy, all of that needs to be financed. All of a sudden I can get those financed, and these firms can now build out capacity to be able to meet the demand in the marketplace. As it then grows and as retail will then pick up, jobs will be created, etc., etc. And so that's the concept around this, and this is put together by Tom Lee at Fundstrat around this. So I was talking about this earlier in one of the previous podcasts, but now I just wanted to share with you. Obviously, it's still going up and still will continue to go up. That's not going to slow down. Technology is just where the future is. I think everybody's really bullish on AI, so we'll see AI continue to grow and drive more activity there. So I don't know. That's sort of where we're sort of. If you have any questions around that, comments, give us and share with me your comments. But I'm just looking at what was I looking for? I was looking for this, right? And so here you can see what the probability is of a rate cut. So I'm going to stop sharing here, and then I'm going to share another window. So a lot of people go to Polymarket, which is okay. They're a super cool company. And yeah, I'm really happy for Shane and the team over there, what they've achieved tirelessly, relentlessly. That is an entrepreneur that's been working tirelessly 24/7, sleeping in the office and working for over nearly 7 years on building out Polymarket relentlessly, from an idea concept into a website, bringing on the new people, raising money, going back, building again, trying to drive growth, getting adoption, getting awareness. And now today he's getting what he deserved. So good job on the team there. And just what it takes to be an entrepreneur, it's definitely requires tenacity, persistence. And I think a lot of people never expect what it takes to do that. But here you can see another team, Cindy and the team at Drift, really building out a prediction, equally another prediction market on the blockchain as well. And so here you can come into elections, you can vote. Here they got 72%. Wow, 72% chance to win and a 48% chance to win. So I don't know, it doesn't add up to 100%, but I haven't checked it out. But check it out here. $1 million are bet on Trump this case, and $1.5 million worth of bets on Kamala winning. But here you have, which is what I wanted to come to, which was, will the Fed cut interest rates by 50 basis points at September Fed? So September 18th is when they come together. That's when the FOMC meeting comes out, the next one, and that's where they will announce a reduction in interest rates. And Powell has already alluded to the fact that they will do so. Very interesting. If you go back a couple of videos, we talked about and predicted that they would drop rates in September. If you listen to our spaces, if you join all of our activities, you find out about these first. Why? Because we anticipated around election time, you are going to drop interest rates. And this is around election time, very timely. And I'm pre-announcing it, so everybody's already getting pumped up and excited. The markets have reacted accordingly. And now we are obviously going to see it. So will we see a 50 basis points drop, or will we see a 25 basis point drop? If Kamala is still at a 72% lead, maybe it's only going to be 25 basis points instead of 50 basis points. But here your bet is down out here. There's a 25% chance that that's going to happen. And if we go to FedWatch, which is the other site that we always refer to, and I don't know why it's not loading. I'm on the different browser, but in 22 days time is exactly when they meet on the 18th of September. Here it's a 35% chance. So here you can see a 50 basis points drop is 30% chance, and here we're seeing a 25% chance of that happening. Anyway, here you can bet, but not as many people have bet on this. Only $23,000 worth of bets. What do you think? Let me know in the comments. Let me know, and we'll see if what is going to be the outcome of that. But that was really interesting. Just some activities of what's going on. Remember here, find and see if this is true. I don't know, but it's an interesting insight. Sounds pretty realistic to me. And so this is something I would look at. And you know, just one that I was actually referring to this graph here around what the industrials and how the movement's going to happen with the rate cut, regardless of if it's 25 basis points or 50 basis points. We will see movement in these categories over the long term, right? I don't think it's going to spike up, you know, overnight, but it will be in the long term. These are going to be the major benefactors of a rate cut. So that's a good sign. Yeah. You know, in other news, we're still seeing actually a pretty bullish economy. We're seeing a lot of imports taking place. So the ports have never been busier. Despite the softening of the economy, a lot more imports are taking place. LA, Long Beach, processing import volumes near the highs set during the pandemic, except this time they're not suffering, right? They don't have log jams. They've managed to solve that. What does that mean? And how is that impacting? There's a lot more products on the shelves. You know, how are tariffs going to impact that? What's that going to mean? What are these types of products that are coming in? So they're trying to bring and put, you know, use China, you know, what, I don't know what they're talking about here. I haven't read this, so bear with me, but shortage of labor against the backdrop. Today, despite worries about softening economy, the busiest U.S. port complex, which account for roughly a third of all container imports, is processing import volumes nearest the highs, as we talked about. The complex had its third strongest month ever in July. So in July, a lot of imports coming in. Total U.S. imports, 24.9 million. Okay, blah, 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 blah. Why this? We have plenty of capacity, so they can take more. And look, it's growing, so they're seeing more come in. U.S. container imports rebound after 2023 slump. But what are they importing? In addition, back to school demand, preparation for year-end holiday, typically sees an uptick in activity. Yeah, I guess everybody's coming back, right? So everybody's been on vacation for August, and we're now back hitting September. People coming back to work, going to fix up things. September is notoriously a volatile month because people are trying to get up to speed. Where have things been? I've been on vacation for 1 week, 2 weeks. Kids are going back to school, going back to college, going back to university. And so all of those elements are now kicking in. Everybody's trying to find their new footing, being in a new environment. I'm trying to understand what's happened while I was gone. And that takes 1-2 weeks to get up to speed. At the time when the FOMC gets together and decides on interest rates around the 18th, so in the third week, we're ready to rock and roll in for the rest of the year. So buckle up. Let's see what happens. And we're coming into an election in November. And so there's going to be a interesting journey from here on in. There's going to be news every single day. It's going to be, yeah, really, really, really interesting. Oh, I wasn't sharing anything what we're looking at, but you will now maybe understand. As you can see, the new graph, it's not sharing now at all, which is super weird. Screen, share screen. I was sharing this article, which is a Bloomberg article. That I was clicking through. So you can see here just all the details. I won't go into it anymore, but it summarizes the forecast, what's coming back, in addition to going back to school, everybody coming back to holiday, etc. Yeah, that's been a bigger item that's been going on at a macro level, and it's just a bit different to everything else that's been going on. Yeah, I thought the other interesting thing is, right, well, whilst we were talking about Europe a bit earlier, yeah, I'll come to the TSN really soon, so I'll speed on through. I know you want to hear about what we're doing and how we're going on. But, you know, one thing we were seeing about Europe, and you're seeing the clampdown, you have the DSN, which is the Digital Security National, you know, sort of Act, a DSA, I think it's called, Digital Security Act or Digital Social Act, or which is really around the clampdown of censorship. But what's that doing? It's pushing away entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurs are going to Dubai, they're going to Asia, Bali, Singapore, Hong Kong, or into Argentina now, right? Argentina's made it very attractive for entrepreneurs to go there, where you have the freedom and marketability. But the US has benefited from this as well. Look at the growth in the US versus Eurozone and the UK, right? It really has not grown since 2006 or 2000. It's just been bumbling along and really hardly grown at all, which means there's not enough jobs that's been created, etc. So let's see something happens there. US, and we've been talking about this on all the spaces, on the podcasts. So yeah, we just have analyzed this in detail, but just confirming it again. Here, another source that's talking about it. You know, German, you know, Euro stocks 50 versus S&P 500. You know, up until 2010, it was pretty much equal, going line in line, and then huge divergent in 2010. So tech. Why? It's all about technology and really innovation in the technology area, not in luxury brands and not in, I don't know, maybe pharmaceuticals. Europe's pretty good in pharmaceuticals, right? So maybe that was it. But the market really appreciated tech much more than anything else. And again, just another graph that shows it. You know, it's just many different people sharing the same type of news. 2008, you know, pretty much equal in terms of GDP at current prices, and then boom, 2023 US GDP far greater in terms of growth and volume since 2023. So just a lot more growth in other markets where innovation can happen and where technology dominates. Embracing technology is a critical element to driving growth, and energy is needed and required for that. On market news, you know, we have a couple of announcements coming out that I think we're all excited about. And I wanted to share, you know, the big announcement that's coming out right now, of course, that everybody's talking about is really AI and NVIDIA, right? And so everybody's going to be talking about that. There's an interesting video here that talks about the top. And so here are some of the stocks that are really aligned with NVIDIA. ASML is a Dutch company, and what they do is they provide the manufacturing equipment to develop semiconductors and build the chips. And they supply this to TSML, which is TSM stock here, I'm assuming. AMAT is another chipset manufacturer, Applied Material. They also provide a lot of the infrastructure to this. I don't know MU stock, but let's see, Micron. But yeah, check out this video. You know, it's going to be interesting in terms of where and how NVIDIA comes out. So NVIDIA, everybody's worried NVIDIA is going to collapse. It's never going to meet the markets. It's another Cisco, etc. To be honest, it's not another Cisco. You know, chipsets and semiconductors, there's lots of videos out there. You can read about it. I worked at Sun Microsystems, and we had a Spark semiconductor processor, and these industries work in 7-year cycles. You need to build out the supply chain. You need to build out the manufacturing plant. You need to get the distribution. You need the economies of scale. So this takes time to build out. And even if you fragment it down into slices, and you say the semiconductors are going to become much more specialized versus being generic compute environments, right? GPUs, and go more into what are they called? ASICs, right? So application-specific integrated circuits. And in order to do that, it takes time and you need volume. And so all of this will take time, but put in mind, how long did Intel dominate together with Windows, how long did they dominate the 80s, the 90s, the 2000s with their manufacturing? As long as PCs were growing and adopted, they were growing with it, and they were constantly both building out together and together, and they dominated for decades to come. And I think we're in an era where NVIDIA is likely to have that kind of dominance. And if you look and listen to the Eric Schmidt video that we shared about last time, you will understand how much money is at stake in this space. And not only can you see that in the traditional world in stonks, you can also see that in tokens, right? Here are some of you go to CoinGecko, you can search under categories, artificial coins, and then you can invest in tokens that are focused in this, from BitTensor to Render, to Near Protocol. What is AI and what does that really mean, right? On the one hand, you have manufacturing companies that are providing the equipment to build the chipsets. You have the chipsets that are being supplied to big data companies like a Facebook, like a Google, or like a Tesla, that are aggregating vast amounts of data. And then there's storage. Where do I store that data? There are a number of providers that are supplying the equipment to help with data storage. So there's storage providers, random access memory, and then there are decentralized providers that are trying to help offer similar types of service, e.g. storing the data on decentralized networks, computing that data on decentralized networks, and here indexing that data, so helping identify, discover what type of data that is. So you can see a whole bunch of providers out there. And this leads me to where is Truflation. So that's the macro side. I'm covering that off, closing that chapter, moving to Truflation. Truflation setup. You couldn't see my screen, could you? Anyway, so sorry about that. Here you've got the CoinGecko page where you can see here, you go to CoinGecko, you go to cryptocurrencies, select categories, select and look for AI, and you find all these different AI tokens. So you can have a look into them. And I talked about it earlier, so I won't talk about that. And then on the video, in case you didn't see that, Alex, ticker symbol U, he talks about the NVIDIA earnings and talks about 5 stocks that are going to crush it. And he talks about specifically these 5. Well, anyway, I told you about which ones. You can check it out and find that post. But more importantly, I wanted to come to you and talk about Truflation, right? And so if you look at Truflation, we set up inflation at the beginning to just calculate what is a real inflation. Why did we set that up? Because we just didn't believe the numbers that we were being told. So we just put our heads down, built a solution as fast as we possibly could that would be as accurate as we possibly could get to the reality of the situation, and actually have high frequency reporting on how prices were moving. And we did that. We got a lot of recognition for that. But what happened since? The trust in the official reporting scaled beyond just inflation and scaled into other metrics. We don't trust what we're being told anymore. The metrics are constantly changing. The benchmarks are changing. People are lying to us. So the trust in big institutions started to crumble. And as they started to crumble, news to fake news, signal to noise started becoming very blurred. And so we needed to scale what we're doing into a greater source of truth. And we could not have this centralized anymore. So the phase that we've been working on in the last year and a half has been decentralizing our infrastructure. I've shared with you a number of our partners who have been helping us do this. You can see here in ecosystems all the data sources that we started off with. the data contributor, processing that data. You can see all these partners helping us with AI, acquiring new data, storing the new data in a decentralized fashion again. Universities that we've been working with, helping us identify and calculate contributions to what we're doing, and validating new ideas, new calculations, modern methodologies that fit the modern age where we have computers and more than just electricities. And then other protocols that are using the data that we're providing to help them better predict where the actual market and economy is doing and what the benefits are of, and leveraging the benefits of high frequency real-time data. And so we have also been working with a huge stake of constituents helping us take all of this data that we've been aggregating since 2010 every single day across 18 million items with 3 different price feeds. How do we decentralize this, manage this, and build utility associated with this? So we've been working with a group of validators to help us make this happen from a development resource perspective and to be decentralize this. That's what we've been working on. And our partners have been helping us establish this and create the TSN. So what is TSN, right? So in essence, we've been working heavily on building out the Truflation stream work using an app chain. So we've built a designated app chain to make this happen because of the reasons I told you. We need to ensure decentralize the data sets that we have and maintain it at utility. You've seen me share this graph before. Yeah, you can, and maybe I can zoom in instead so you don't read all of this small footprint. But here you can see, I've shared this many times already, but yeah, how we work. We have data providers. They inject their data into the stream network, this decentralized network that has a consensus algorithm that they work with, a consensus, yeah. Sorry, I'm just in the moment. But yeah, and so they're actually verifying the data, authenticating the data, and making sure, verifying in terms of where it's coming from, who it's coming from, logging that. We then authenticate the data. Is it accurate? Is it reasonable? Is it within certain parameters so that it seems accurate? Or is it an outlier? If it's an outlier, let's go and verify that data again. And then ultimately storing that data. So that gets then stored across this different network of contributors. As it's stored there, then it is there ready for distribution. Then we have the data analysts. What do the data analysts do? They come and participate in terms of calculating using that data. So in our case, True Labs, Oliver is going out there, leveraging all of this data that's on there, and then calculating the true CPI. And so that then gets presented on Truflation.com. That's what you see on the website up here, based on those calculations. And so as that takes place, we can create all sorts of index. And the same is happening with the electric vehicle index using commodities. We've got a whole slew of indexes that are in the pipeline being built right now that help you then identify what are the underlying in those. And all of those underlying in those are data that have been validated, verified, validated, authenticated, and stored in and amongst these 12 node operators today, and it will scale up. And we'll work through how we scale that up next. Each of these node operators are in the Truflation ecosystem for the long term. They have staked a certain number of tokens for 3 years. So they're here to build this out. They've locked in, and the data providers, in order to get verified and whitelisted, they pay and stake tokens equally. The data analysts equally stake token, not to the same amount as the data providers, not to the same amount as the node operators, but they equally stake. All of this will be disclosed in very short term, and we will share more around this. Ultimately, who are the consumers of this? Blockchains, DEXs, perpetual DEXs, liquidity pools, synthetic assets, all of these indexes, synthetic indexes, actual indexes that are looking for price feeds associated with real world assets. And what's the interesting element? We believe that indexes are going to be equally as big as meme coins. Why? Because actually you'll create an index around a real world asset that you can relate to. I'm big on EV index. I love my EV. So I want to have an electric vehicle index that takes into account all of the commodities. I'm a vegan. I want to know all the elements that go into vegan, and I can trade these 24/7. Why? Because we have sufficient price feeds that allow us to offer 24/7 trading. And there are enough transactions happening on chain that allow us to have that price feed for that period of time. So that's beginning to happen. So here's a report that's coming out that's going to be added. But how are we building all of this? And why are we building all of this? We're building this on an application-specific chain. So this is a customized chain for Truflation. It's an app chain. We are using elements from the Cosmos ecosystem. We're using the Big Comet consensus algorithm, and that's what we're using. But why and what are the benefits of the app chain, right? We can enable trustworthiness because it's decentralized. You've got 12 node operators constantly verifying. Performance and efficiency. We've tuned it to be fast. Why? Because this data needs to be streamed in real time to all these DEXs and synthetic assets, liquidity pools. And it needs to be efficient, right? So we can build it to be dedicated to a single purpose around this data streaming and data performance. And ultimately, we can be flexible in building out the tokenomics. And so that's what we've used the app chain for, and that's what we're building it out. Also, because it's decentralized, it still retains censorship resistance. It has full transparency. There will be a scan, a explorer that will allow you to see what is happening across this ecosystem. And there will be governance participation. So Nuon and Truflation token holders, Truth token holders with their VE Truth. If you've staked it, you get a VE Truth. Truth token holders, VE Truth token holders will be able to participate in the voting. And I shared how we're doing that voting, getting you onto discourse, taking that into Snapchat. But for us, it's been an evolution. Get to market first. Build out fast, get adoption, get credibility, establish the fact that we can build an index and start the decentralization process and hand over the governance to the participants and the users that really appreciate what we're building. That's what we've been working on. And so we go into the world's decentralized economic database. How does that look? Who are the participants? So you can see we have node operators. You can see here to operate a node, they offer their compute power. You can get access and a link to the SDK. They stake 100 Truth a year and in return they get VE Truth that allows them to participate in the governance. You can see data providers, they're participating in here. You see data scientists that are participating. They stake 10,000 Truth to get VE Truth and participate in the rewards and the billing distribution associated with it. Data consumers. So who are the data consumers? They pay a monthly app chain fee of 200 Truth just to get access to the stream network itself. Then they pay differently. So the way we've structured the billing, you can see here is what are the revenue shares across the contributors. The treasury gets 30% in order to reward the VE Truth participants and the governance holders. Who is participating in structuring and has a long-term vested interest in building out Truth. You have third data providers that are actually going and doing the heavy lift, indexing the data and helping with the connectivity for their data via adapters into the Truflation Stream Network. The adapters are a critical element in identifying what and how this data is composable, doing the verification of that and the authentication, as we talked about earlier. And then 20% go to the data scientists who are building these indexes. And how we charge for the indexes, right? Indexes are rewarded based on the transaction volumes that take place using these indexes. So 10 bips, for example, on the transaction volume. So as the transaction volume goes and the interest in the actual index, so does the revenue associated with the chain. So skin in the game, both parties. We are both vested in growing the value and for the index, as well as growing the value of the transactions of that index. So that's going to happen as well. And so that's how we are going to build out the revenue stream. This, in a very simple graph, looks really complicated, but this is what we're trying to simplify before we share this with you. And so ultimately, you can see the adapters that we're building out, the data streams, the indexes, the event context, the context windows that we're building out. So those are all things. Reputation is going to really matter on who's building all of these. So all of these are going to come out, and we're going to distribute a lot more and share how this all comes. And we are going to be putting this into the white paper. So those that want to read can read, but we will be breaking these down into bite-sized chunks. What is an app chain and the rise of app chains, and what does that mean for the Truflation Stream Network? What is the economic model behind all the participants in the Truflation Stream Network? What do they look like? Who are they? How can you participate in the Truflation Stream Network? And then ultimately the technologies, the components. What do the developers need to know associated with the Truflation Stream Network? You've seen it in GitHub. I've shared with you all of our processes, all the amount of contributors working on the TSN. And here, and I've shared with you just now the names of the node operators that are going to help maintain this and keep this uptime running. And so all of those are beginning to come together in the decentralization of Truflation and in the form represented in the Truflation Stream Network. Are data streams available? Sorry, someone's here is asking. Yuda has been asking more about the TSN, so hopefully I shared a bit more around that. Very insightful, thank you. But here, are Truflation data streams available through the Chainlink platform as well? Yes. Truflation and all of the indexes that we're creating on the TSN will be available through the Chainlink platform. Already today, Chainlink, we connect all of the data sets into Chainlink, and that is made available through Chainlink on the multitude of chains out there. And so we will continue to work through Chainlink. It's just through certain chains that Chainlink is not yet connected to, that are maybe smaller, early stage, very focused on RWA. We will be working with those chains maybe a bit earlier on, and sharing with them and working with those chains directly connected to the TSN. And we've already integrated with Nibiru, with Injective. Those are chains that are not yet connected to Chainlink. And so we decided to work directly with those chains, mainly because we felt that a lot of their initiatives are aligned with the initiatives of where Truflation wants to go and how we want to bring indexes to market. But we will and are, and in fact, next week I am in London, again, meeting up with some of the Chainlink folks to try and build a better cohesive go-to-market around some of these indexes. So stay tuned. We will share more about that very shortly. Yeah, that's it on the TSN section. That's really what I wanted to share with you around our partnerships and our activity. And yeah, that's what we're working on. Great information. Thank you. Hope so. Markets have been really dry in the summer. All the volume has dissipated. Why is that? Crypto's always been 24/7. I've never seen volume drop so low. Even in Tether, if you look at the volume on Tether, it's like 27 million, billion in terms of trading volume. But yeah, look, let's try and grow that and see what we can do to scale and make that increase. But yeah, here regarding somebody else was already Andrew Klein regarding Argentina, same equation in all countries, or is this an apple and oranges comparison? No, I shared with you last time how we broke down and break down the data sets for each of the markets. And just to share with you, it is not an apples to apples comparison. It isn't. It is very different in terms of how you calculate. Why? Because the income levels, the population sizes, the ages of the demographics of the population are all different based on the countries. So the ratios tend to change in the calculation process. And let me just see if I can find here. Yeah, I think I've got here one. And then, yeah, so here you can see one example is this is for the US, where you can see here, let me share this tab. It's not working. Screen, and I'm sharing here. And let me just see if I can find Argentina. Here's Argentina. And let's share this tab instead. Here, share. Okay, so here you can see for Argentina, this is what I shared last time. So if you can go back and watch it on another site, but just to share with you here, Argentina, right? We broke down Argentina based on the total population. We looked at the demographics, male versus female, age brackets. We looked at the population breakdown according to that in terms of income. And that's how we then built out a breakdown of the main categories. So here you can see food and non-alcoholic beverages at 21%, transportation 18%. And you can see in the US that the numbers are different associated with that. I don't know, are you seeing the changes? So anyway, we've customized this and broken this down. And actually, if you go to here, you can see all of that in more detail over here, right? So in the US, you have food is 15.3%. Housing is 23.2%. So if I share this tab, so here you can see the different brackets. So remember the numbers I shared with you. Transportation was 18.8%. In the US, it's 19.8%. So just small differences based on those categories. So hopefully that gives you a bit of insight in terms of how that's. Isn't Truflation just BLS algorithms without the lag? No, we are not. We are a high frequency, real time upgrade. We have very different calculations in terms of how we calculate housing, the weightings. We are very different in our calculations, and that's why we work with universities to verify our calculations and our algorithms as it relates and refers to the elements associated with our categorization. The BLS has 6 categories. We have 12 categories, right? So this is 10 and 2. This is 6. So just those are numbers if you can leverage 2 hands and take up 15 numbers. Anyway, yeah, so that's how that works. And so we are very different. We track 80 million items. The BLS tracks 80,000 items in a manual basis. They have 473 people going around manually to track the numbers. WSJ 433 people track inflation BLS. So just so you see how some people do it. Yeah, here you can see there's a Wall Street Journal article. No, that wasn't that one. I was looking for the Wall Street Journal. Oh, maybe they deleted it now. Oh yeah, here. Fuck, no, not here. Why is it just showing me an iPad? Anyway, yeah. Anyway, yeah. So I mean, that's. Yeah, here the BLS employs over 450 workers to track prices for up to 100,000 goods now, right? So you can see that that's how they do it. Yeah, so we try to do it a bit more modern than that, and leverage technology to be able to do it in real time on sensor space. That was from Bun Tarun. Thank you. Luke S is asking. Oh yeah, here, Crypto Lupto. Yeah, this is good. You ever just had a moment where you think this project seems all right, can see it being important to players who are yet to be here for potentially a long while at Truflation? Is that, in my honest opinion, only defender investor question is why release coins every day for 8 years? Yeah, I mean, we have an emission schedule to reward all the participants over the course of 8 years. That's the only reason why it's locked in smart contracts. We looked at a number of models out there, and the range of emissions in tokens was between 5 to 8 years. It's just a process. The reward schedule, it's to build this out for longevity. And if there is a greater demand in the token, then I assume the price will go up faster. But the emission schedule is sort of set in stone unless there is a strong vote by the community to do something different. It would require a slightly different approach, and we would need to revise some of the smart contracts. Not only revise the smart contracts, rewrite smart contracts and reissue tokens at a different level. But that's sort of what we've locked down. There might be ways to do that. I haven't looked in that, but that's the proposal that we've been working with. But we hope to see the utility of the token grow much sooner and much faster. It's just an emission schedule. I mean, look at Bitcoin. They took the halvening process, right? And so they still haven't emitted all of their tokens, and they've been working on this for now, nearly over 10, 15, 20 years now, right? And so, yeah, actually 15 years. Sorry, I can't do the maths. But yeah, so you have a look at that, or 14 just below that. But anyway, you have a look at that. That's one example. We're half of that. And the emission schedule is set in stone and going out daily. Anyway, I think those are all the questions that you've had. Excited about Truflation. Thank you. Let me know if there's anything else you're keen to see. But that is where we are today, how far we've come, and hopefully you saw that. There's something wrong with my computer today, but anyway, thank you everybody. Hope you enjoyed that, and I got to run. I'm 2 minutes late for my next meeting, so hope you enjoyed that. Give us your comments, send us questions, let us know how we can be better, what we can do to improve this. We have some ideas. We're working on those ideas, and we're going to improve this as we go along. But thank you, and have a great day. Happy Tuesday, and see you all on Thursday. Bye for now.